Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 102 of the WP Café show with myself, Mark Wilkinson, and my co-host, Keith Devon. If you're coming back to view, thank you for joining us again. You kind of know the format by now, but if you're new here, thanks for joining us. This is the podcast where we discuss all things WordPress for freelancers, small businesses like us, and we sort of talk through all of the things that are happening, the problems, the solutions, and things that we have, and we get a little bit of a discussion going. And so if that sounds like your sort of thing, then great. Please consider subscribing to the channel, and then you can see the next episodes. So in this episode, we're going to look primarily at one topic, although we always go off in a tangent and have various different discussions, as you well know if you've been listening for a while. And that is kind of like all about something that happened to us this week. Very quickly, actually. It started on Monday and it kind of finished today. So we'll talk about that in a second. But before we get started, as usual, how's your week been, Keith? What have you been up to? Anything exciting?
Anything exciting? My mum's come to visit, which is nice.
Hey.
So she's over for a week. She
Nice.
lives in Northern Ireland. So yeah, she's over, which is good. What else has been going on? Dentist trips with my daughter. Anything interesting though? Not really. Yeah, I don't know. I've had lots to do. Like work-wise, I feel super busy. It's gone from the pendulum has swung.
Yep.
I've gone from like scratching around for something to do to not having enough time in the day. So lots of RecPressy stuff going on, which is really exciting. Although that's holding back getting version 2 out. Which is what I'm really excited about. And I made a start on that, but then people keep coming in. It's like they need it yesterday. So we're kind of rolling out version 1 over and over again, which is a bit frustrating. But that's
buying it on them.
Yeah, no, how annoying. And then we've got our school project on. We've got other bits and pieces of the WooCommerce one that you've been working on. So yeah, it's busy at the minute, isn't it? But yeah.
It is, yeah. Busy stuff, lots going on, which is good. What have I been doing? I had a golf lesson today, which is exciting.
Yeah.
I was geared up with footballs between my arms and bands between my legs and trying to swing a club. It was fun, so that was good.
It would have been good to get a picture of that. I don't know if you did, but like with all your apparatus while you're trying to swing and hit a golf ball.
I said to my coach halfway through, I said I've got so much in my head now. I don't know what's going on, you know. So we had to sort of rein it back eventually. But I've got a competition tomorrow. I say competition, it sounds very grand. It's just the usual Saturday comp, it's nothing exciting. Winter comp. So we'll see how it goes. It'll either be really good or it'll be awfully shocking because I've forgotten what I'm doing and all this lot. So anyway, there you go.
Golf, the never-ending journey, right? Like
the never-ending journey.
Yeah.
You've never completed golf. You know, there's not this thing that you get to like level 1. You're there. No,
exactly.
Anyway, back to more interesting matters of WordPress and other things related. So we've called this episode Minimum Viable Design. If I can get my words out. Why have we called it that, Keith?
Because there's a specific kind of recent experience that has kind of led to this, and that is like quite often happens, someone comes to us for a job relay integration. So they're a recruitment company and they want to be able to post jobs, or they come to us for RecPress because they want us to build a job board for them. And the question always comes up, do you have a website already? What kind of state is it in? And quite often people don't, or they've got one and they want to improve it, or they're moving off a proprietary system onto WordPress or whatever. They're somewhere along that journey. And up until now, we haven't really had anything to offer them. So what happened on the initial call was I waffled. So the guy, we were like, oh, we could do websites. And the guy's, oh, tell us about that. And I just kind of like waffled for a bit. And after the call, you were like, we really need to improve that in terms of like an actual pitch. So we got straight to it, basically, didn't we? We're like, right, we do. I completely agree.
And I think, just to jump in, I think that comes from the fact that I feel like my job relay sales calls, I've actually got a plan. Like, I've got a plan of what I say. I've not written it down, but I bet if you watched, because I tend to record all the videos for them, which is a really good idea, by the way, if you're doing sales calls, record the videos and do watch them back, because it gives you good feedback as to what you're doing and what you're not doing. And they all take a similar path, and they ask similar questions, and then you get similar answers. So I do feel like that is something that's worked very well with Job Relay, formulating a plan of sales call, like what do you need to know, what do you need to ask, what information do you need from them, what information are they likely to want from you, and have it ready, that sort of thing. So anyway, carry on.
No, well, that's fine. So yeah, afterwards, and I knew I was waffling, and I knew that it wasn't structured, and it mustn't sound particularly appealing to the potential customer to hear me talking in those kind of like loose ways. It's like, well, what am I actually getting? What are you actually offering? So after the call, we put our heads together and like, right, let's come up with some plans, something definitive that we can sell people at various levels, because we get a lot of kind of recruitment startups, and they probably have like low budgets. They need something quick, kind of cheap and cheerful. And then we obviously have built sites right up to the kind of the enterprise kind of level, almost, or like sub enterprise or whatever, where it's like tens of thousands of pounds, like 6 month long projects. And I felt like we needed something where it's like, okay, you can have this kind of plan, you can have this kind of plan, you can have this kind of plan, and like, you know, the top end is just bespoke, and we've said like that starts from X. So that's pretty open ended, that one. But the other two, we decided on like a startup plan and a growth plan. I mean, cheesy, but like it's the sort of stuff people I think kind of understand. The sort of language people understand.
It's probably worth saying at this point that in many ways, having plans and having, you know, we've called it startup and growth, and then I think we called it bespoke in the end, didn't we? It very much goes against what we always believed, I think. We always believed that the right way approach was to sort of have a call with the customer, ask what they want, and then based on that call of what they want and the functionality they want and the sort of design they want and customizations and everything that you learn from that call, you then pitch them what they've asked for. But it seems to me that clients don't really want that. They actually want to be able to certainly have a price, don't they? I think, you know, I want to, I can see in front of me these three options. I can see they start from this much, therefore I'm going to fit into that one.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So we've kind of changed the approach there, which I think will work for a lot and maybe won't work for a few, but we'll see.
I feel like what's really kind of driving me at the moment is we have expertise, and we're trying really hard to package that up and deliver that in a way that makes sense for people, so that we can give them the most cost-effective option. So if they're a startup, they don't have £30,000 to spend on their website. Like £3,000 is probably a stretch. And you could argue, well, just ignore them. They're not your customer. They're not for you. And I just feel like they are. Like I want to get these people on WordPress, and I want to give them a good experience of WordPress, rather than going with somebody who's just gonna, I don't know, chuck some. I mean, the sites that we integrate Job Relay with are often pretty awful, and I just want to give people a better experience than that on WordPress, and I think we can do it. It's just, how do we package that up in a way that makes sense, gives them what they need, the amount of control, the amount of flexibility, but keeps the scope down so that we can actually make some profit out of this as well, and make it a sustainable business, rather than, you know, we're charging 50 quid a month for a website, and like if they ever pick up the phone to us or send us an email, like that's a negative thing, because the profits just evaporates in that one moment. I want to deliver like a really good service, but do it it's hard, and I just find it really, really hard. But
there's some comments coming which is interesting. It can perhaps move towards the next point of discussion. So Cameron, thank you, says pre-made templates are generally your best bet for minimal viable design. change the fonts, logo, colors, etc. But the layout and the information architecture stays the same.
Wow.
If they want bespoke, they pay more. That's pretty much what we thought and what
That's exactly what we offered.
We offered. We'll come back to what happened in a minute.
Yeah.
Courtney, thank you for joining us. Says, do you think having an off-the-shelf product works for websites these days? What happens when they ask for X? Are you back to bespoke pricing? Great question. Don't think we have the answer yet, to be honest. We'll come back to that one.
Yeah.
And then again, Cameron, can definitely recommend productizing where you can make setting expectations is clients so much easier. Absolutely, because So what happened, Keith? What happened with this particular one?
We ended up we brainstormed. We came up with our 3 plans. We put it on a page on our website in a table, and actually we were pretty kind of happy with it. We knew it wasn't like rock solid or whatever, and it was slightly experimental. But we're like, sure, these kind of make sense, and it's a good progression through them, and yada yada. Sent them across. The guy was like, yeah, like I want to go for the startup plan,
and which we knew anyway.
We knew he would go for that one. We kind of designed it for him based on what he said in the call.
But he was a typical starter person that we hear from, so that made sense because most people we see that we think are starter people, we're saying the same things essentially.
So I like during that first call, I'd asked him, do you have any branding? He's like, no, it doesn't even have a logo. All I want is like a text-based logo. I don't even need a logo mark. I can come up with a couple of colors, and whatever, and a couple of fonts. I'm like, sweet. And I was like, do you have any other design preferences? No, not really. It just needs to look good. This is a minimum viable product. We just need to get something out there. So I thought, sweet, this is perfect because what I often want to do for clients is just to say kind of just leave me to it. Like, I've designed websites for like 12 years. I know how to do this better than you do. And I know that sounds really arrogant, but it's true. Like, I can make a website look better than you can. And
particularly when there are restraints, as in we're using a templated theme, we're not building stuff ourselves.
Yeah. So the plan was that we were going to use the Ollie theme by Mike McAllister. And because it's a great looking theme, it's uses the word like the what do we call it now?
Full site editing. Let's call it that.
Still call it that. It's not technically called that, but yeah, okay. So it uses the full site editor. Looks beautiful. You can change your fonts and colors, etc. So I could add the kind of branding. Comes with loads of page templates and like patterns and things. So that once I had his content, I'd just be able to like put that site together for him and make it look really good. Yeah. I was 100% confident that what I delivered was going to look great. But he wasn't 100% confident. And fair enough. So he starts asking questions like, well, what's the process? When do I get to see the first round of designs? How many iterations? I don't think he said that exactly, but it was that kind of vibe like, oh, can I come up with some wireframe ideas first? And, we can talk through that. And I asked him for content. And he was like, can you just provide it with dummy content? And then I was like, well, no, the whole point of what I'm doing for you is assembling your content and making it look good. If I'm just providing dummy content based on some templates from Ollie, just go and install Ollie yourself and just crack on. So we had this conversation back and forward. And I just realized through it that like I was losing him. He'd actually already paid at this point. And I was just like, what we've sold him is not what he thinks he's signed up for.
Yeah. What is important to say here is that the relationship with the client didn't break down at all here.
No, it was really respectful, good conversation.
Everyone was really respectful. He actually came away saying he was impressed with our communication and the way we communicated and spoke with him. There was no sort of like, oh, I've lost control and I've lost touch and I've lost trust with these guys.
Yeah.
It was exactly the opposite of that. It was literally, I actually bought something that I thought was something else. I think what it was.
He lost trust in the process. I think he kept saying that like he was really impressed with how we were handling the conversation.
Yeah.
But I think he was like, I don't have faith in the process, because actually you haven't really told me what the process is. You just said, give me some money and we'll give you something at the end, which is, to be fair, exactly how we'd set it up. So in the end, he asked for the refund, and I was like, kind of disappointed, but kind of like, but you know what? If this isn't what he wanted, then that's fine. We've messed up, and actually during that conversation, we've learned quite a lot about how.
It's a golden opportunity to learn what.
But then I asked him tonight in the follow up. I said, look, yeah, we'll process your refund today. Thanks so much for being so open and honest. If you could, can you just expand on some of the reasons that you didn't feel comfortable with this? And the stuff he wrote back was gold. So we've got some really good feedback. I actually threw that at the chat GPT. I was like, the whole email thread, and I just said, based on this, how could we improve our process and our product? And so, like, some of the suggestions, have I got them? Some of the suggestions were actually
what did Bob
really
suggest?
Let me see if I can find it. I'll put it on a note somewhere.
Bob is chat GPT, by the way, if you didn't know.
Website plan ideas. I wonder if I've got the actual chat. But Mark, you had some ideas. Have you got any? Okay, yeah.
Just some of the things that he said in his response or his sort of feedback. I read them and just thought, well, actually, like we did say that thing.
Yes,
some of it. So I'm not quite sure what you mean. But we'll come to that in a minute. If you've got these answers, I'll go on. You go for it.
I got some. So Bob, ChatGPT, thinks that we should define clear project tiers with boundaries, which we did. And interestingly, its 3 suggestions were startup, growth, and bespoke, which were ours, which is kind of weird. I don't know if I'd mentioned those in the email thread, and that's where it's kind of pulled those up.
Yeah.
Startup tier, pre-selected themes with client input on colors, fonts, and layout options. Basic customization, but no custom design. Growth tier allows for 1 round of layout mockups for client approval. Bespoke tier, fully customized. That's fine. So we'd pretty much done that, but I think we potentially need to give the client a bit more feedback or a bit more input in the initial theme choice. So that's something that I might take forward from that. Second suggestion was to add a simple design preview process. So provide quick visual design direction early on, even in the basic tier. For example, we'll mock up a sample homepage based on your branding choices, so you can visualize how the site will look. I thought about this, actually.
Well,
that's something we could potentially do really quickly before we take any money. Potentially. Because if we're using something like Ollie, and we already have like the basic branding, I know this is getting away from the stuff that we've pointed our whole business towards, but the more I think about design and the design process and everything, the more I think it's kind of not bullshit, but like at a certain level, it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know, we've just watched the school that we're working with go through a full, I'm assuming very expensive design process with an agency to come out with something that is super basic. Like, I probably could have done it for them in half an hour. The only difference is that it required loads and loads of feedback and input, and meetings at the school and meetings here and meetings there and meetings everywhere, and like that's the stuff that costs. But the end result wasn't particularly good. It certainly wasn't groundbreaking in any way. Like, I really could have come up with that in about half an hour, what they ended up delivering to me after weeks and weeks and weeks. So, and where's the value in those weeks and weeks and weeks of work? All the value really is that some people get their egos massaged a little bit because they were involved. It does. I don't think it's going to help the school at the end of the day. So I just think.
So maybe I think what we pitch this startup plan as is that essentially, sort of like summarizing it, it's like you're not getting anything bespoke. You're getting a templated theme. In this case, the Ollie theme. It could be any theme. It doesn't really matter. And this thing that you're getting comes with X number of different types of pre-made, pre-designed
Yeah.
patterns in this case, templates in other cases, etc.
Yeah.
And this is how I feel. What are we offering as part of this package? We're offering to find the best match of those to make up what we've considered our 5 pages that you need. I think we said 5 pages, like home services, about. Can't remember what the other ones were, but essentially 5 service. And that's what we're offering you based on your logo, your color scheme, and hopefully some content. But there's no customizations. There's no, can we just do this with that? It's kind of like, if the option isn't there in WordPress to do it, then we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And I think he thought that he'd get more than that. He'd get some option to say, well, I don't like that. I want that there and I want this there and so on. And maybe that was just our pitch slightly, because maybe actually we should have said that you can change anything, because I think one of his points in his email was that he felt very restricted in that what we delivered to him would be what he'd get, because he doesn't get any rounds of revisions. So therefore,
I thought we made that quite clear in the emails, but obviously,
yeah. But our point was that whatever we give you, it's WordPress, it's block theme, full site editing. You can change whatever you want, because it's WordPress, and we did say that, and he didn't seem to sort of understand that concept. Again, that's probably our fault. I'm not suggesting that's his fault. We haven't communicated that good enough. But I do wonder then, do we need a lower tier? And the lower tier is essentially do this yourself.
Well,
we can give you a collection of things that we think work for you. Maybe that's like £100 for consultancy. And it's like, use these things because they're really good. Go and do it yourself.
I was thinking that exact thing, because he'd never heard of the Ollie thing, for example. Like, and it probably wouldn't, with outside of the WordPress community, it's probably not something that's easy to find. I think it's a stunning looking theme that most businesses, especially startups that don't already have a predefined brand, could just use and build a really beautiful website with. So I did think that, could we offer something for a quarter of the price? Just like you said, we'll just set up WordPress with the dummy content and the dummy, we'll just do that for you, and then you go in and fill in the details, and that's the service, because we think that's really, really easy and not very valuable. Other people don't have a clue where to start.
Exactly.
So maybe that is the value that we're providing. I don't know if that's really going to turn the dial for our business, but yeah.
Brings me on to two things. Firstly, I remember in the email chain, he was saying, can you provide me with dummy content so that I can see the things? And I know you said to me, rightly so, I want the content first. People come for the content, not the design. We make the design fit the content. But actually, maybe that's wrong for these customers. They need somewhere to start. And in their head, the starting point is getting something to look nice. And then I'll just fill it with content that makes sense for the design and makes sense for me and my business. And maybe we need to get out of that mindset that the content is first for these people. They need somewhere to start. And in their head, the somewhere to start is the visual thing. Oh yeah, look at this page, and I'm going to fill it with my content.
I think you might be right, because what I was thinking is that as we improve this process, I could come up with a content template for them. It's like, here's some stuff you might want to put in your about page. Here's some stuff you might want to put on your services page, because we know the niche. Like, we're talking to recruitment agencies, so we've got, we know roughly what they should be talking about based on our experience and the competition and everything. And then I was thinking, well, why, instead of doing that in like a Google Doc or a form or something, why couldn't I just do that in a template visually? And that's exactly what he was asking for, actually. So
I was going to say, when he said, can you provide me with like a first round of design, that's literally what we're going to give you. That's the job almost.
Yeah.
And then he can go in and say, well, I don't like that and I want to tweak that. Well, right, great. You go in and do it then, because we've done it.
I don't mind. Yeah, I think we're just going to have to, I think we're going to need at least some tweaks and some revisions as part of the process. I think that was...
He didn't like that, did he? He didn't like that he didn't have any of that.
I didn't like it either. And I think it's just how you limit that, without it feeling too restrictive. Because again, the design company that we've just had recent experience with, I really didn't like this whole round of revisions idea, because it felt like they could just produce something mediocre and say, well, you've got one round of revisions. It's on you now to improve our crap design. But actually, what we were offering was even worse than that, if you think about it. If they weren't happy with things, they had no recourse to come back to change
they had every
anything.
recourse in that they could just go and change it, because and we openly said we're not designing something for you here. We're not building something. We're just using something that already exists.
Yeah.
So they have every chance to go and change it, in that that's what WordPress provides them. Which brings me on to the second point I was going to make, in that your point about that lower tier, the DIY tier. If you have recently visited the WP Café website, please do, wpcafe.show. I used Ollie to try and improve it. And it what's the word? Like, it's not easy and it's not hard, but you need some WordPress savvy to do it with, I think.
Yeah.
And I think what I've ended up with is pretty good. And actually, maybe that's what we should deliver as the lower tier. Actually, that little bit of expertise that I spent 3 hours doing that work. So here are a group of things, of products that you might want to use for your website. Use the Ollie theme. I don't know. This is a good host for a really budget site. Whatever expertise we can provide, and then this is how you would go about creating the homepage, etc. And maybe that's the lower tier. And maybe that's what he then wanted, because he would be able to make the changes himself with a bit of confidence in using it. Not sure. But
yeah,
I thought what I managed to get on the WP Café site was, I mean, it's not wonderful, but I think it looks miles better than it did.
Yeah, it looks better.
And it's nice, like,
Yeah, I think it looks nice. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what people need. People are obsessed with design, aren't they? Though
yes,
they say they're not, and then as soon as the process starts, it's unbelievable how much input and opinion they have, and how they think as a complete non-designer that they know how to improve things. It just fascinates me endlessly.
I always come back in this instance. I always come back to the very first branding we ever did, which was for High Rise Digital, and I was never in love with the High Rise logo. And you convinced me, and the branding company convinced me, like, they are the experts here. Because I think you said at some point, I don't think you're ever going to be happy with whatever they produce. And I think that came in my mind. Yeah, you're probably right, actually, Keith. I'm not. So actually, you've got to just say, fine, I don't know what I'm talking about, really. So you've got to just ignore that and get over it and let the process happen. And what effect does that have now? Nothing. I love the logo now. I like the brand. It's stood the test of time for 8 years. It's been absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And I think, how do you get clients in that same position? Because essentially, we're back to what we started by saying, isn't that, like, we're the experts. We will deliver you something that is going to be good. You might look at it and think you want to tweak X, Y, Z, A, B, and C, but you don't. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get that across, because I think they're always going to have those strong opinions, aren't they, about things?
Yeah.
Difficult.
I think we should jump into some comments, because there's been some good ones.
Go for it.
I think we covered Courtney's. We didn't really come back to Courtney's originally. So, do you think having an off-the-shelf product works for websites these days? What happens when they ask for X? Are you then back to bespoke pricing? This, for me, is one of the key questions as to how we package up what we're offering, because I completely agree. I feel like a web design or a web building process, being someone's web person, should be an ongoing relationship where they should be able to come to us and say, can you help me with this page or that page or whatever? And that's the bit. This guy chose the one-off payment, by the way. So we did offer a payment which was pretty much a monthly payment, and then a one-off, which was just like, you host it yourself. There's no maintenance and support. We're going to deliver this thing for you, and then it's yours.
Yeah.
So at that point, if he comes back to us saying, can we do X and Y? I mean, it's either yes, and it will cost whatever, or no.
And I still think, one of the most valuable things we provide to our existing clients, and I'm not talking about startup clients actually here, I'm just talking about our other WordPress clients, is that ongoing relationship where we have that call every month and we talk about things and we consult and we provide valuable information. And then often they go away and do stuff on their own on the website based on that conversation. Or we go away and build something and we have to quote for it. Or we go away and do something that takes us 15 minutes and we don't quote for it. But it's hard to understand what that benefit is when you're just looking at something that says, hey, pay me 200 quid a month to get that. When you just think, well, I don't need that. Why do I need that? Like you to be there.
But also on the other end of that, the people that do realize the value in that and think, oh yeah, like I'll use them loads. It's like, how do you kind of scope that and restrict it so that, you know, it doesn't get out of control? You know, if you're charging £100 a month, even for that kind of maintenance and support, like how many hours is that worth? And how do you just tell a client that that slider that you want to add isn't, we could just use a plugin and drop it in and that would probably take an hour or two, but it's not to make it look like you want it to look and to keep the integrity of the design and the site. It's custom and it's expensive and that doesn't fit into the retainer agreement that we have and blah, blah, blah. That scoping all that stuff I find really hard. I might actually look back that night at WordPress London when you gave your talk. The other talk, can't remember his name, was by a guy who was talking all about retainer agreements. And actually, he had some really good ideas in there. And some of it was around this, like he doesn't put time against tasks. He does it like kind of token based or something. It was like, this is like I don't know. I can't remember, but there's some interesting ideas around that, but that's the stuff I find hard. Yeah. But then I'll always come back to the fact that we have like 4 or 5 pretty high-end clients on retainer contracts with us at the minute, like reasonably expensive monthly contracts with us. They hardly use it.
The chap was Serafin Danessa.
Yes. Yeah, it was a really good talk. But I'm always worried about this thing that people are just going to like bombard you constantly. They're going to be on the phone all day, every day asking for this thing and that thing. In reality, that doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen.
So maybe we should just take a punt at this. Say, well, you know, I don't know, package up as well as we can and just go for it and hope people don't take the piss.
Yeah.
Loads more comments. Cameron says, can definitely recommend productizing where you can, make setting expectations with clients so much easier. Couldn't agree more. It is what has made Job Relay and RecPress so successful. And it does this. I love that.
It doesn't do this.
Yeah.
Do you want it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we need to get this product to, I think. And I think we can do it. And I think we can offer real value. And especially in that space, like we said, we see so many. And we see the recruitment sites built on WordPress, which is the platform I would recommend, but they're still not particularly good sites. So I think we can do a lot of good in the recruitment industry if we get this right. Courtney says, we find cheaper websites often mean more to the client and the client wants more personal input. Well, that's the truth right there. Yeah, definitely find that. And I think, Courtney, maybe one of the main reasons for that is because they're smaller businesses. You're quite often getting paid directly out of someone's wallet. They've got such a personal attachment. The guy we were talking to, it was his startup. His brand new business. He was probably the only employee. We were getting paid out of his personal bank account, probably. You know, it's all very, very personal. Whereas when you're working for a big client, it's a marketing team with a marketing manager, with a digital marketing person, and they've got a set budget, and it's just all way less personal. And I think that makes it much, much easier. Cameron, the more I hear, the less I think it's an issue with your process. They just fall somewhere in between needing a templated thing and needing a bespoke solution. Doesn't sound like your ideal client. Yeah.
And I think you're right, Cameron, but I don't think that plan exists because they won't pay more. That's why. And I think that's where the problem lies.
I think we could have given him what he wanted for the price that he was paying us. I think we just packaged it wrong.
So we need to go back to the drawing board and re-communicate what that involves and maybe tweak it slightly so that they do get some more feedback and things like that.
Yeah, and like you say, maybe we have a lower tier. I don't know, like an even lower entry level tier, and then this one, which is slightly more expansive but still has limitations.
It's interesting because we keep coming full circle. Like we've thought about this in the past, don't we? Because I remember we've said in the past that, like, if you're a startup recruiter, you don't really need to get someone to build your website. You should just be going and using something yourself and having a go, because actually what you'll get is fine for the first few months. And we've thought at some points, to try and sell more of a guide. This is how you set up your site, which is very cheap. Maybe it's just a download of 20 quid or something, but that never works. And I think they want it done. So there's a balance between what we've offered this chap here, which was the starter plan, and then maybe there is something lower. I'm not sure on what that would look like.
Do you know what though, Mark? The lower we go, the less they actually need the expertise that we have.
Yeah.
And actually the market is wide open at that point for them to hire any WordPress assembler, anybody with like a slight bit of knowledge of how to put together WordPress websites, of which there are many, and there are many cheaper than us. So I wonder actually if that low end really isn't for us, and that kind of step up that he just slipped under is our first plan. I don't know. Because what are we offering at that point? These are brochureware websites where our expertise in job boards and things makes absolutely zero difference to them. Our expertise in that sector, in the recruitment industry, is completely wasted because we're building a brochure site with a homepage, an about page, a services page, and a contact page.
But then, so what we're then saying is that we're going to ditch the starter pack, because actually,
that's what I mean.
So get rid of the starter pack and go. But then we can't capture clients like him.
And maybe we can't. Maybe we can't. Yeah, maybe we can't. Maybe we don't want to. Because the value there isn't value there to capture.
Yeah.
Like,
but we've found so many people come to us, like you said, that have rubbish websites, and you just feel like there's got to be something better than this. And at the moment, it's that starter package that we're delivering to them, or hopefully, or maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, they don't want that. They want something more, but it just seems they don't want to pay for it. So you've either got to convince them that the middle plan is the one for them and it is worth paying for, or you've maybe, like Cameron says, you've got to put something in the middle of that that allows them to sort of take that next leap forward. And that's the hard part here that is really difficult to solve. I don't know whether this is a recruitment specific thing or whether this is just a general website thing in that it happens for all sectors. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's probably for all sectors. I mean, there's lots of people that offer websites like this, and packaged up like this, and it's tricky. Nick, hi Nick, said, do you need a demo site to give the client a sense of the structure and style they'll receive? I think that would have really helped. If I'd set something up and just been like, here, and the demo site could have, like, say we're using the Ollie theme. This sounds really like, I don't like the sound of what I'm about to say. But say we use the Ollie theme, we basically just set up our version of Ollie's own website where it says, like, view the patterns, and you can homepage templates, and you click homepage 1, okay, that's what they all look like, that's what these patterns, this is what your about page can look like. Like, is that a terrible thing to do? I don't know, because I think that's what he needed for us to get him over the line.
But I think you've also to be careful that if you offer them too much choice, it's just too confusing. So if you've got 50 homepage designs, it's like, I don't want to have to choose from 50. So I think
there's 5 though.
While you're talking, maybe actually what you need, and maybe this is the starter package, maybe it could actually be cheaper, is to say, look, we've got 5 demo sites, 6 demo sites, 3 demo sites, doesn't really matter what they are. And they're just different layouts of pages for each one. And then you're basically saying, for the starter package, we will deliver you that in your colors with your brand and your logo. And you can change it once you've been delivered it. And that is what the package is.
Yeah.
So they can literally see what they're going to get. And maybe it's cheaper than the starter plan we've got. And then so the starter plan becomes much cheaper than that. But then you go into the growth plan.
At that point, do you take away the upfront payment thing and make it a monthly payment, as in, like, the value that we're giving you is that we are here for you going forward, and we can tweak your pages and stuff? Because otherwise, I don't know. And what's the value to us as a business? And if we're doing that as a fire and forget cheap, because we've never been those guys.
No,
we've never been those guys. But I just kind of wanted to give this a go, because it feels like when the customers are literally right in front of you, asking for this, like, I don't know, my business head is just like, create something for them.
Create something for them. I completely agree. Why leave it on the table, you know?
Yeah, but also because, and it's not just a money grab. It's because we like genuinely want these people to have better websites, like, you know, and because, like, if we're integrating our stuff into these websites in the future, that's a better experience for us, integrating them into good websites and all this kind of stuff. But
yeah, Courtney just says, agree. For the low value client, you can build a demo site that you can just clone for a site for all new clients. That's kind of what I was thinking. And so we're back to that. Who was it who said it? Apologies. It was sort of productizing it. Like, well, that's like the demo site's the product. So when you're saying, can I have this? Does it do this?
Yeah.
Look at the demo site. If the answer is yes, then you can. And if the answer is it doesn't do that, then it's no. So that's the product.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an option to look for.
Yeah.
We'll try and tweak it. We'll try and...
I was quite excited by it, though. When we put those plans together, I could see this working for us. You know, obviously it hasn't in this first instance, but I think we've learned so much from that first interaction.
Yeah, sure.
Fair play to him for not just being like, go away, guys, I don't want to hear from you again. But he was really engaged. So I'm still reasonably enthusiastic about it as an idea. And I like building websites. That's what I got into this for. You know, we've got our products and they're doing really well. But at the end of the day, I'm a web designer and that's what I like to do. So
what I think is helpful as well is I've been on so many job relay calls where they want a website. You can tell they want a website. They maybe have said that to me in the call, and they've said, you know, we're currently trying to find someone to build it, or we've commissioned someone, but we haven't built it yet. And you want to say, well, actually, we do websites, and it's such a good starting point to be able to say, hey, do you know, we have these plans here. Just gives you an idea of what you're going to get.
Yeah,
and then they instantly know what sort of price is what. And they could go up and down slightly, couldn't they? Like, if you're not going to sell plans as such, you could say, well, these are starting points. And then they're going to instantly see, well, I want bespoke design, you know, so I can't be going with the starter one.
Yeah.
I don't want fully bespoke because I don't want to pay that price, but therefore I'm going to be in the middle. They're in the right picture then with the right amount of money, or they're not. And they just say, well, I can't afford that, but I want the middle one, so forget it. We'll just go with someone else.
Yeah. Comes back to one of my original points. Does anyone other than big brands really need bespoke design? Someone convinced me why that's important and why template-based stuff is not good enough for 90% of websites. I really think it is, and that's coming from someone who's designed websites for a living. I just feel like, what am I actually doing? I'm just creating new stuff that's pretty much like other stuff, but it's a lot more expensive. I don't know. Yeah. I can see it for brands that like really need their brand to like be deeply embedded. But even then, you look at the big brand websites, they're exactly the same as all the other websites. Like we've kind of finalized on what a website is and does and looks like. I don't think we need these expensive design processes anymore, especially with tools like the block editor, which let you, if that particular layout, or you know, you've done all your wireframes. What's the point in a wireframing process these days, where you can get a website online and test it in real time and see if the users are using it properly and move that box over here and over there? I just think the whole design paradigm is kind of changing.
To answer that question, a great example is when I was doing the WP Café Show website. So if you've not used Ollie, it comes with loads of patterns. And it comes with specific types of patterns for certain things. So it comes for like a resume style pattern or website. It comes for, I think it's a digital product download page, and a podcast. That's one of the things it had on, which is one of the things which is why I was drawn to sort of give it a test, because it had these beautiful looking designs for the podcast section. So I'm busy sort of doing this. And if you're interested in how it works, you've got a design pattern. You drop that on the page, and it gives you this beautiful looking thing. I had to then go in and tweak it because the pattern for showing the archive episodes, for example, if you see it on the website now, that wasn't a query loop. So it's not you'd have to manually go and put your things in. But what it is a design that I know looks good. So all I had to do was to put a query loop above it and then start copying the styles from the different places into my query loop. So that worked really well. And I'm sat there thinking, like, there's going to be so many pages that look like this on the web because of this pattern, because it's a really good pattern. And then I'm thinking, our podcast page is going to look pretty much the same as everyone else's. And I'm thinking, but I don't care, actually. Yeah. Like you said, I don't really care because it just looks nice. It serves a purpose. And that brand and design isn't the holy grail for us. It doesn't really matter to us. Mm-hmm. And I think, like you said, there's probably very few companies or brands where they really do need to say, look, we don't want to look like everyone else. We want to be us. That's an interesting point you say there, definitely.
Yeah. I'm going to change the fonts on that site, by the way, because you didn't use Montserrat.
I didn't, but it didn't use Montserrat before that, so because it was the 2024 theme or whatever it was.
That's what all our thumbnails use, though. God, come on.
Yeah, I just went with whatever was installed with Ollie. So again, and I was trying. I purposely did that because I did think about fonts, but I just thought if I start playing with the fonts, I mean, you'll be better at this than me because you design. But if I start playing with the fonts, I'll just mess it up. It just won't look right again. So what's the point? I may as well take the design that's been given and all that thought that's gone in from Mike to make it look cool.
Yes.
Why would I want to just butcher that by saying, "Oh, I don't like that font. I want to change it."
Yeah.
But I'm sure you'll do it more
maybe
robustly than I would anyway, make it look nicer. But it does look good. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, it's a good theme. Well done, Mike.
Yes. Before we go, I have been working on WooCommerce recently, as you may know from listening to this. And I've been stuck this morning. I had a call with the client and we were setting up Stripe on the staging site. So not easy with WooCommerce to get the download. It's free to get the Stripe add-on, but the process you have to go through to connect your account to it, and also it's a bit of a nightmare. So we've done it. Stripe's installed. It's in test mode. It's connected. It says it's connected, but I can't get anything to show on the checkout page. So you put stuff in your basket, you go to checkout, and there's just a place order button, but there's no card fields. There's no pay for this thing. And if you press place order, it literally places the order and then says thanks very much. So for an hour this morning, I've been tearing my hair out. Like, what have I done wrong? And I even switched it over to the default theme. Thought, is it something to do with my theme? Because I have pulled some template files into ours and then made some changes slightly to just lay out. That's all. So I was baffled, and I'm still baffled. I'll get there in the end, but it was a very frustrating process. And WooCommerce is a beast. Like it's a big thing to get sort of into and start trying to tweak and change. I'm sure it's very powerful, but it's tricky to get right.
Just very quickly, I know we're going long. I've just been fiddling with the fonts on the WP Café site. So I've added Montserrat, right? I noticed that nothing changed, and I was like,
okay,
why has nothing changed?
Well, you have to go into global styles.
I added it as the heading font. And I'm just looking at the heading on the homepage. I was like, that hasn't changed to Montserrat. And then I inspect it, and it has the class has condensed font family. So that has a specific class. So if I go to that in the block editor, I can see that it's been given a custom font. This is the problem with the block editor. So now there is nowhere where I can say, as far as I'm aware, replace all instances of that with Montserrat, because Montserrat is not the condensed font, and it never kind of will be. So Mike has set that up in a way, and not like, no disrespect to him. I think this is the way the block editor works, in a way that I can't now globally change the typography, which is a real problem.
So if
I might be wrong.
If you take that class off, is that just a custom class in the advanced panel?
No, it's if you go to the block sidebar, under typography, the font is Mona Sans condensed. So I could change it there on that page. But what I'm saying is, it looks like I have to go into individual.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And luckily,
that
isn't
isn't just being styled as an H1, is what I'm saying. So I can't go into global styles, change the H1 styles. It's been given a custom font on that particular block. So it doesn't matter what I do, unless I can somehow replace the condensed font family. If I can make that point to Montserrat, but then that's semantically wrong because the Montserrat font we're using isn't a condensed font.
Yeah.
So
difficult. Elliot, hi Elliot, thanks for joining us. Has posted a little solution for WooCommerce. Dashboard, WooCommerce, settings, payment enabled Stripe, which I have, and cash on delivery is not enabled. I thought you were onto something then when I read that. I was like, yes, it's fixed it for me. But no, cash on delivery is not enabled. It's got the little toggle switch turned off. So that doesn't appear to be the problem. But thank you very much for your solution. This is much appreciated. And then Nick says, back to your problem with our website homepage, did you set it in the site editor, typography and text?
I'm in styles and typography, and I was in headings, and I changed the heading font to Montserrat. And the H1 is set to default, so it should go to Montserrat. But what I'm saying is that specific block has its own font, so I can't override that globally, which is a problem when using templates like this. So it'd be interesting. I might get in touch with Mike and just see what the deal is.
So essentially, that heading block has got a custom style assigned to it, so it's overriding the global style, which is kind of what should happen.
I thought that would just pick up the H1 style, but it isn't. Well, it's custom in that particular pattern. So interesting.
Yeah, difficult that. Oh yeah, the others have changed. Yeah, the other headings have changed, all right, haven't they?
Yeah, but I don't know where they haven't. You know, obviously it's a very small website, so there's like 3 pages, so I could easily go and see that. But if we were building something on a bigger scale, like how many of Mike's patterns in the pattern library have custom fonts on blocks is what I'm trying to say, I guess, because that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up.
Sorry, I was just looking at Elliot's further suggestion.
Get into it. Let's do that when we're not live on a show.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know about you though. When you get suggestions from people like that, as a developer and just like a problem solver, I'm like, I have to go and look at it now and see what the solution is. I just find it really.
Well, I was literally like fiddling around with the fonts while you
were
talking.
I can't stop myself. Anyway, that's good. Right, I think we'll wrap it up there. That was a long episode. We didn't think that. We keep saying that. We don't think it'll be very long, and then we end up rambling on for ages. Yeah. I think we'll be back next week. Let me just quickly check the calendar. Yeah, looking good. So I think we'll be back next week for episode 103. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, particularly those of you who joined us that were new. Thank you for coming along and seeing what this is all about. And it sounds like your sort of thing. Please consider subscribing and ring the notification bell to get alerts of our next episode. And yeah, we'll wrap it up there. We'll see you next week. Thanks,
everyone. Bye-bye.